mentioned, be attending the IGAD Heads of State Summit on Somali refugees. That's going to be on Saturday. So that is our top story this morning. We're also following up on another development, and we understand that InfoTrack is currently releasing a survey. Nairobi Senator Mike Sonko will be re-elected if elections were held today, according to that new poll that we'll be seeing right now. The poll by InfoTrack reveals that Sonko will get 36.3%, while nominated Member of Parliament Johnson Sakaja will get 25.9%. Sonko has, however, declared that he will go for the governor's seat. The poll also showed that Women Representative Rachel Shebesh will retain her Women Representative seat, and therefore that poll is being released right now. And we just want to cross over there live and listen in. I understand that Mary Njoki is currently making the address.
So my name again, Mary Njoki. You can call me Mary Mboro if you want. You're good? You're good. So tuko na snacks mob sana, msituachie tafadhali. Sharon, next time please come. I'm so sorry. It's okay.
Like the survey has already been released, but we have those numbers. Let's just take a look at those numbers here on our Super Bowl, where it rates the senatorial race rather, and also, of course, the women representative position. Let's take a look at this particular InfoTrack poll that has just been released right now. And we have this senatorial race. That's what we're going to start with. And like I mentioned, Mike Mbuvi Sonko still leading that. This question that was asked is that if the senatorial race was held today, who would you vote for? And Mike Mbuvi Sonko came first at 35%. Johnson Sakaja, who of course announced his intent to run for this particular seat, came just a few days ago, came second at 25%. Then you have George Aladwa, former Nairobi mayor, at 9.9%. You also have Mutinda Kavemba at 2.4%. But also the very big question is that there's a lot of people who are still undecided about who it is that they can vote for. That's standing at about 26.6%, quite a large number. You'll remember also that when InfoTrack released the governor race, there's also quite a number of people, about 19% of people who were interviewed said they're still undecided about who really they would vote for. But on the senatorial race, as you can see, Mike Sonko would still come out tops in the senatorial race. Let's take a look at the women representative position. And you have Rachel Shebesh, who's the current Nairobi women representative, at 36.7%. And she's being followed closely by Millicent Omanga at 12.8%, and then you have Beatrice Kwamboka at 3.5%. So still there, Rachel Shebesh still at the top. Let's continue on to the next slide there. And then you have, of course, still women representative. There are other people who have come out to express their intent. We have Wangoi Nganga, she's at 3.0% currently. Then you have Karen Nyamo at 2.6%. And then the undecided, still quite a huge chunk there, 41.3% of people still are undecided about who it is that they would want to represent them as a women representative come the next general election. All right, so let's continue taking a look now at the Member of Parliament position. Are you likely to re-elect your Member of Parliament? So that was one of the other questions that was asked in this poll. And 41% of people said yes, that they indeed will vote for the will actually re-elect their current member of parliament. Another 44% there said no, that they will not vote for they will not re-elect their current member of parliament. 12% said that they basically do not know. And then you have 3% who refused to answer. So there you go. You have that question, are you likely to re-elect your member of parliament? And a big chunk of the people who were interviewed said no, they are not likely to re-elect their member of parliament. This is particularly in Nairobi County. Let's take a look at the coalition popularity. You have Jubilee there at 41%, and then you have NASA at 44%. Therefore, that very, almost like 3% difference there between the two top coalitions, Jubilee and NASA. And then you also have people who are like, none of them appeals to me. That's at 12%. And then you also have the undecided people standing at 3% of, when it comes to popularity of the two top parties or coalitions, if you like. All right, let's continue on and all right, let's take a look at the other slide. Let's take a look at the other slide. All right, so I understand they're over, but that is poll that was released by Infotrack just a few minutes ago, and really talking about that senatorial race is going to be Mike Mbuvi, just in case he decides to actually decides to go for this particular seat. But remember that he's expressed interest in the governor's seat or governor's position in the next general election. Let's have a discussion around that. And joining me right now in studio is Martin Andati, our political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Betty.
So a few days ago, we were talking about the Nairobi gubernatorial race in which Kidero came out tops, and now we're seeing Mike Mbuvi Sonko still at the top. So things are like basically remain status quo if elections were held today. Does that surprise you?
I wouldn't be surprised,
right,
because you see, even in the gubernatorial race, the numbers Sonko has are not very bad.
Yeah.
But you see, Kidero had 35%.
Right.
Sonko had 24%. Now Sonko has 35%. So it tells you that more people will prefer him to run for Senate than to run for governor. Then Sakaja declared the other day, and I think because of his visibility, he's been able to pick some numbers. Aladua.
But can you really compare? How can you compare Sakaja and Sonko right now?
Of course, Sonko running against Sakaja, he will still whitewash him because the flamboyance and the visibility. But we need to look at the numbers closely after the show that he had the other day. I'm sure that might affect some of his numbers. But if he is running against Sakaja, but they are
it would have affected negatively or positively?
Negatively.
Okay.
Yeah, because the show was not very good. And you saw the comments that came out on social media and even on the FM stations. The remarks were not very positive,
right,
and I'm sure that is bound to eat into his numbers a bit. But you see, Sakaja and Sonko are both in Jubilee. So if you combine their numbers, it's almost 60%. So the ODM guys, the NASA guys need to work harder. Up to now, there is no fully declared candidate for NASA.
Yes, yes.
Aladua had indicated he might run, but he has not come out fully.
But would he really be a worthy competitor to both Sonko and Sakaja?
He wouldn't.
Okay.
He wouldn't. And there was talk that Kethi Kilonzo will come in, but so far it has not materialized. Ongoro had indicated she might, but it's like she is also chickened out. I think she's gone back to Ruaraka. So that is posing quite a bit of a challenge for the opposition, because they don't seem to come up with a candidate.
But is it that maybe they're not interested in the Senate, in the senatorial seat? Maybe, perhaps, because they haven't fronted a strong candidate, really.
It's not just the party, the individuals also. You've noticed in most of the places, very few people are expressing interest in Senate, because most of the counties are big. Nairobi has 17 constituencies. And in terms of remuneration, the senators just earn the same salaries as MPs.
Yes.
So most people are reasoning, and we love money as Kenyans. So people are reasoning, why do I need to run in 17 constituencies and still earn the same salary like an MP who runs in one constituency? So you've seen there is more competition for gubernatorial MCS,
yes.
and a bit of MP. Then there is very little interest in Senate,
Yes.
which is going to be tragic because the senators, we need senators who can be able to defend the devolution and who can also be able to hold the governors to account. But if you have very few people showing interest in Senate,
Yes.
then you might not end up with a very serious caliber. You saw the first Senate, we had very serious people vying. But now, most of those people who vied for Senate, they are now rushing to become governors. Because they have realized that is where the money is.
That's where the money is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about let's go back to the senatorial poll there. Who would be a better candidate in regards to Sakaja and Sonko right now, especially, you know, after, you know, the whole conversation about, you know, him being very reckless in what he was saying just a few days ago. Right now, who's Jubilee likely to front as if Sonko will not make it for the governor position?
I believe Sakaja would make a better senator than Sonko. You know, Sakaja is fairly eloquent and he's done fairly well as a nominated MP. I think he would have the capacity to interrogate the issues better and he will be able to articulate the issues. You know, Sonko has had a good connection with the masses, but in terms of representation and oversight, he's performed dismally. And you know, Nairobi is listed in the last auditor's report. They are talking of 20 billion not being accounted for. And you know, you see that is a lot of money. You cannot hold the governor to account by going to dance in the streets, by engaging in the theoretics which he engages in. Because you get the documents and first of all, when the money comes from Senate, you are supposed actually to use media platforms to let the people know how much money has been released. Because, you know, most of the people out there don't even know that there is so much money coming in. So you use the media platforms, you let the people know how much has come in, and they should also be able to turn up. You know, most of the projects are supposed to be forwarded by the people. But you know, the governors just wake up and come and tell you, you know, we are doing this road, we are doing this. But you see, that's not what the Constitution envisages.
Right.
You are supposed to have public participation. So you allocate the money to the wards on a pro rata basis. Then once it has been allocated, you sit with the MCS, you sit with the governor, you sit with the rest of the leaders, so that there is no duplication.
Okay.
You've seen, like some of the places, you get one road which is claimed to have been done by the governor. It has also been done by the national government. It has been done by the MCA and by the MP. You know, those have been some of the avenues they have been using to steal. Because the information does not go to the masses. So we need a governor who can be able to understand the issues better and interrogate them better. But still, if Sonko were to change his mind and go back and run, he'll still beat Sakaja.
He'll still beat him.
But you can see Sakaja has just declared a week ago. But you see, because there was a void, he speaked serious numbers.
Right.
26% is not
It's
small.
not small.
And Aladu at 9.9 is quite low.
It's quite
so
low.
Even if he were to declare now, he'll really need to do quite a bit of work. But I don't think he has fully declared that he's running for Senate. Yeah.
Let's talk about the women representative position. And Rachel Shebesh is still at the top. And still, you know, nobody seems to be giving her a run for her money because the second person is, will be, if we can just have the graphics, Millie Manga. You know, the numbers are not really, are just favoring Rachel Shebesh. But what really has she done for Nairobi? Or is it that there's no other worthy competitor?
Shebesh has not done very well as a women rep. You know, they have the Social Affirmative Action Fund, which is 7 million shillings per constituency. There was a bit of delay in releasing the money, but when they got it, they got money for 2 years. But when you move out there, you don't see so much that she has done. Of course, you can't rate the women reps on the same level you rate the constituent MPs,
right.
Because their positions are unique. You know, they are supposed to try and address the vulnerable groups, especially the youth and women. But they have not done. She has not done very well. But because she's been around for quite some time, and I think a bit of visibility, she still has the numbers. And I think the other candidates have not come out strongly. Millie has been running around, but Millie and the rest of those candidates, Mboi and Karen Nyamu, they are doing most of their work on WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, they are basically WhatsApp. They are virtually, you see Nairobi Forward and all these other platforms. They are very active there, you know. You see them doing a small thing here and there, and it's all over social media. So you see, social media could be powerful, but it's not as powerful as people think. Not in this election. Because if that was powerful, then Shebesh would not be where she is.
Okay.
Karen and Wamboi Nganga and even Millie would actually be way, way, way beyond. Of course, Millie has managed to do quite a few things. When you follow some of the things she's been doing, you can see she's done a few projects
but
for the
can
youth,
she
women
express
here
herself
and all that.
well? Can she, does she have that agility to go out
She's
there?
a director. She's a director, I think, in Kenyan, and another parastatal. And she's well educated. I think she's done a BCom in finance. So I've seen her on one of the shows. She is articulate. But you see, there must be a disconnect between what she's doing and the masses.
Exactly.
Because she's actually the most visible in terms of the women rep race. But she has also been wavering. One time you see she's in the Songo camp. The next minute she's talking to Kidero, the ODM side. The other minute she's also talking to Songo. So that creates a bit of instability. But basically the activities she's been doing, compared to all the others, including Shebesh, she has done more. So the question is, why are those activities not translating into votes?
Numbers.
It means she could be doing the right thing the wrong way or the wrong thing the right way. So you are not connecting with the voter.
With the voters.
You need to find out what is it that the voter wants. So, you know, you buy for you.
Is it what the voter wants to hear? Because she's not been given really a platform to showcase herself. So is it what they want to hear, what they want to relate on, or what is it?
But you create a platform for yourself. You see, in politics, you create a platform. Songo has created a platform. Sakaja has had his platform in parliament, and he has used it fairly well. Of course, that visibility tells you a lot. Because we saw when Sakaja was running for governor, his numbers were very low. I think it was 4%.
Yes.
Now, at Senate, he's moved, it's just a week, and he's at 26.
26%.
So that tells you that visibility, and especially in the city.
Right.
You know, in the city, media plays a big role, even out in the village. But in the village, radio is more powerful than TV. So relying on social media alone will not help you much. If you are running for a rural county, I think the FM stations will be very critical, and a bit of TV.
All right.
Then the outreach to the masses, because that will play a major role.
All right.
Then you look at both Senate and women rep. ODM seems to be having COD, NASA now.
Yeah, NASA
seems to be having a challenge because Kwamboka is the only declared. There is Kwamboka and then there is Karo Mayunzu. But Karo Mayunzu is not even being rated. Kwamboka's numbers, Kwamboka is an MCA for Mountain View in Nairobi. Yeah, but her numbers are not there.
They're not there.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
it tells you that for her to try, of course, after the equation has settled, the strength of the individual candidate will count more than anything else.
All right, let's
so
talk about...
the party will give you a bit of support, but your own strength as a candidate will carry more weight. And I think that is also going to be replicated across the country.
Let's talk about the likelihood of Kenyans or Nairobians re-electing their members of parliament. It stands at 44%. Actually, 44% said that they will not vote for or re-elect their members of parliament. First of all, do we even know who these members of parliament are, what they do, or with the positions of senator and governor, the role of the member of parliament really has sort of like become not non-existent, but nobody is really paying so much attention to what it is they're doing, what it is they're on about.
No, the MPs are there, but you know, some of them have not done very well. You see, like Omondo Gutu in Embakasi East. He was ranked the worst performing MP. And when you talk to the people in Embakasi East, they tell you from the time the guy was voted in, he's done nothing. You know, he has never spoken in parliament, not even once. So and you know, that time people were voting for parties. So then there was talk that he wanted to go back to his village in Alego, Usonga, and run there. But I think with time he's changed his mind. So he's not done much. When you look at the others, I think one guy who has done extremely well, the only challenge he might have is issues of the party. It's Ken Okoth.
Okay.
Extremely well, very brilliant, articulate. When you go to Kibera,
Kibera.
people are very happy. And he does not just cut across, his support is not just confined to the Luo community where he belongs. He has support across the communities, including even those who are pro-Jubilee. They talk very positively about him. So if he were to get the ticket, I think he will very easily retain the seat.
All right.
Olum in Langata looks like, I've done a show with him and he had indicated he might not defend the seat.
Okay.
So he doesn't do much. He's an accountant and he's a businessman, but he's done a few things here and there, but it's not very visible. Then
a few things here and there.
Yeah, Sumra in Embakasi here is also visible, but in terms of performance on the ground, it's very little. You know, most of the MPs, current MPs in Nairobi are former councillors, and some of them came in with a funny city hall behavior. So they have not grown to the role of MPs. So
right.
You get, they have not done very well. There is Gakuya in Embakasi, Embakasi North. That one is fairly visible. Then you have Tim Wanyonyi has done extremely well, but there are challenges. You know, there is the guy who ran on UDF last time. He is Asian. It's called Walji. Walji wants to run on NC. So, you know, that Westlands is predominantly Luya. So one running on Ford Kenya, yeah, the Luya community are the majority there. That is going to pose a bit of a problem for him, for Tim Wanyonyi. But in terms of performance, Tim Wanyonyi has done extremely well, and he's easily accessible. Kamukunji,
Yusuf Hassan, I see he has 53.6% rating.
Yusuf has done well because he's accessible. He is also, his contributions in parliament are very good. And he has very good prospects, especially if he picks the Jubilee ticket. I see him getting re-elected. That one has done extremely well. Then there is Muturia in Makadara. Muturia 50-50 because he's performed a bit. Then he's active in parliament. But Theuri will have challenges.
Yeah, will he really have challenges? George Theuri of Embakasi West, right? 62.9%. That's quite a lot.
Those numbers are looking good, but when you go to the ground, they don't look very good. Yeah, because what the people are saying out there, his performance has not been very high. Then when you look at Embakasi West,
yeah, that's Theuri.
That is Theuri.
Kibera, we've talked about.
Kibera, you can see Okoth.
Yes.
If you ask me Okoth's rating in Kibera, it will be higher than that 60. Yeah, but you know, the dynamics of the parties also will come in because they are the numbers you get on your own, and then there are the numbers that the party gives you. And you've seen the ratings. They are basically, it's either you are in NASA or you are in Jubilee.
And actually,
there is no in between.
Talking about that, I want us to go to the graphics that showed popularity. It showed the popularity between Jubilee and NASA. Let's just go straight to that, to the graphics there. Okay, there you go. So take a look at that. Jubilee, this is in Nairobi County, popularity rather. Jubilee is standing at 41%, NASA at 44%. What does that tell you?
The urban areas normally support the opposition. They always lean towards the opposition.
Normally?
Yeah, normally. You know, there are more issues, problems in the cities. And of course, you have more enlightened people in the cities. So they tend to look at the issues in a more serious way than the people in the rural areas. So, of course, there are issues of unemployment. There are issues of the slums. There are issues of the cost of living. So, naturally, you will get most of those people. They are not very happy. And if you checked even in the Malawi, Zambian, Zimbabwean elections, the opposition normally wins in the urban areas. Okay. Even the Tanzanian on which we had the other day, the opposition swept most of. That's why the guy was running against Magufuli thought he was going to win because he saw very huge crowds in Dar es Salaam, in Dodoma, and the
Yes.
rest of the urban areas.
Yes.
So the same thing is even being replicated here. But you see, the margin is
the
not
margin?
very huge.
Yes.
Yeah, because,
Remember that the 3% could be the undecided people.
Yeah, now it tells you the 12% who are, the 3% who are undecided, and these are the ones who said none. They are the ones who are not happy with the state of the two coalitions.
The two of them.
Yeah. So, you know, if there was a serious and credible third force, then you would very easily tap into that 15%. And you see, the 12 plus 3%, the 15% can swing the numbers either way. Because now that is a person who will actually be holding the key. So if you tilt towards Jubilee, then Jubilee takes power in the city. If you tilt towards NASA, then NASA takes power. So that is a very critical block. But you see, there is no proper serious leadership which has emerged as an alternative. The likes of Dr. Aukot have been doing a bit of work here. But
you said
it's
he
not
he
resonating.
campaigns on WhatsApp.
Yeah, he's campaigning more on WhatsApp and a bit of media presence here and there. But that is it. So you see, he has not managed to get the traction with the voter.
But even if he did, Martin, honestly speaking, I mean, can he really beat any of the two coalitions?
He wouldn't beat, but you see, if he was able to tap into those numbers, then he becomes a force.
A force.
You determine who gets power, ultimately. You see, it's very easy. The numbers in Nairobi would be very close. They would mirror very closely what is happening on the national scene. And when they do the next poll, don't be surprised to get the national numbers would be very close to the ones which are in Nairobi. The variations might be very small because what it tells you is the election will be too close to call. And you know, 41%, if the margin of error is 2.5% plus minus, it's almost the same as 44.
Yeah.
So if you add or subtract 2.5% from 44, you know, it's within the same range.
So range, yeah.
Those numbers will also very easily play out on the national scene. And if they played out that way, then you have that huge percentage. If they decide they are not going to vote, or you know, whoever holds that number holds the key. If they decide the 15% decide they are not going to vote, then the election will go into a runoff. And that is everybody's nightmare. So whoever holds that block, now you become the kingmaker. And you decide who becomes president. You even decide who becomes governor in the city here and the rest of these other places.
The undecided voters.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Martin Andati, for your contribution. We'll keep talking about it in that.